Is addiction a disease or a choice? This question has puzzled scientists and society for over 100 years. There are many studies and many opinions. Some see it as a moral failing or sin, others see it as a crime, a spiritual weakness, a disease, a deliberate choice, lack of self control, a genetic illness, a cultural issue, an escape from painful reality, and so many other things. For the past 5 years, I've seen hundreds of people recover from addiction at our rehab facility. But incidents like this remind me of the stigma surrounding addiction and the damage it can cause. There's this young man battling alcohol addiction. For a long time, his father believed addiction was caused by a lack of self control. So he pushed his son to try harder to quit alcohol. But despite all efforts, the son could not quit because his root cause were not properly addressed. Why? Their understanding of addiction shaped their approach. Maybe the young man wouldn't have lost so much of his life to addiction if they or someone they knew had a more informed perspective on addiction. And that is why we are going to understand whether addiction is a disease or a choice. But first, let's break the silent stigma that bothers so many people. Is addiction a moral failure? Let's see what science says. Scientists have discovered that all animals, from small fish to reptiles to rats to humans, share the same fundamental reward and pain systems. That is, when we taste or experience something that feels good, our brain is wired to do that repeatedly. That's how the reward system works. Alternatively, when something causes pain, emotionally or physically, our brain is wired to avoid it. That's how the pain system works. The tendency to crave pleasures and happiness is a primal instinct inherent to all animals and humans. This means, by nature, everyone has some addictive behavior to a certain extent. So, addiction is not a moral failure. But humans can choose to consume alcohol or drugs. In that case, is addiction a choice? Historically, many believed this to be true until a groundbreaking study revolutionized our understanding of addiction. In 1970, psychologist Dr. Bruce Alexander placed two groups of rats in two different conditions. The first group was kept in isolated, lonely cages. In the second group, rats could play, mingle, and live freely in a vibrant, rat-friendly environment. They gave rats two types of water, plain water and drug-mixed water, and rats could choose any water at any time. This study, famously known as the Rat Park experiment, revealed something profound. The isolated rats always chose drug-mixed water, but the social rats mostly drank plain water and only occasionally drank the drug-mixed water without overdosing. As we saw earlier, your brain is wired to avoid pain. To avoid a painful environment, memory, or emotion, it chooses a substance that activates your reward system. Yes, humans choose to consume substances out of curiosity, socializing, or experimentation, but they tend to overconsume and binge substances to escape emotional pain. So, the answer is initial substance use is a choice and substance abuse is a coping mechanism. But addiction is definitely not a choice. How so? Be it alcohol, drugs, food, sugar, gambling, sex, or social media, every type of addiction starts as a choice. When you use it, you'll experience pleasure and it activates your reward system. Regular use becomes a habit. Eventually, the brain will crave more pleasure. At this time, many people can quit and become sober and clean. But after a certain point, chemicals hijack your brain's neural circuits. Your brain and your body lose control and will not be able to function without substances. That is when you feel a sense of compulsion. Chemicals cause structural and functional changes in your brain and body. This makes it impossible to quit substances even if you want to. This compulsion is addiction. A behavior that begins as a simple choice has the potential to progress and cause structural and functional changes in your brain and body. So, addiction is not a choice. It is a complex, progressive disease which is unique to each person and has multiple root causes. Your perspective on addiction is more than just an opinion. It's a powerful tool that shapes how you approach it. Whether it is for yourself or your loved one or a stranger you may meet later in your life, your viewpoint on addiction can either help in healing or contribute to further suffering. So, please spread the word. Let's work together to eradicate the stigma around addiction.